let's reveal the answers to last week's blind sound test. These things are blighters. This could ruin your day, honestly. That went better than I'd expected, to be honest. Hi everyone, thank you for joining us for part 3 of our review series of this Epiphone 1959 Les Paul. So if you've been following, you will know of course that this isn't actually the 3rd film in the series, it's actually the 5th film in the series. We changed the rules a little bit as we went along to accommodate the amount of content that we were filming on it. So part 1 was the review of the Epiphone 1959, part 2 was the comparison on the bench here with the Gibson Les Paul R8, part 2.5 was quite a revealing interview with Matt Gleeson from Monty's Guitars about these PAFs that he made, which were going to fit to this guitar today. And then last week, in almost part 3, we did some sound comparisons with the standard Epiphone 1959 and this Gibson Custom Shop R8. Now, if you haven't seen any of those, I'll put all the links in the information box below. You might want to go back and start from the beginning and then come back and join us at this point, which is today we're going to upgrade the hardware with this Faber lightweight tailpiece, and we're going to do some more sound tests after that, and then we're going to actually swap the pickups with these Montys PAFs and do some more sound tests after that. However, before that, we are going to reveal the answers to last week's blind sound test comparisons between these guitars. Again, if you haven't seen that yet, you want to watch it first and then come back here. So, thank you so much everybody for taking part. Loads of you commented, loads of you took part and played the game, which is fantastic. I really enjoy reading the comments and I just appreciate everyone's taking part. It's only a little bit of fun, and after I've showed you which guitars are, I'll tell you, you know, how right you were, how accurate your guesses were. So without further ado, let's wind the clock back to last week. Let's look at these blind sound test clips again and we'll reveal which guitar was which. I'll see you back here in a minute and we'll discuss, eh? Here we go. Are you ready? So here's clip A. This is guitar A. Oh look, it's the Gibson. And this is guitar B. And obviously the 59. Clip number 2. So 2A was the Epiphone. And here's guitar B. And 2B, the Gibbo. And here's clip 3. 3A, the Gibson R8. And this is guitar B. And 3B, the 59. And finally, clip 4. Here's guitar A. So 4A, it's the Gibson. And this is guitar B. And 4B is the Epiphone. So there you go. If you took part, you will know by now that you didn't get it right. Absolutely nobody managed to identify which guitar was which in each of those clips, or all of them correctly. It's incredible, really, isn't it? Loads of incomplete answers where people had just said guitar A is the R8 or something along those lines, which obviously I couldn't do anything with because there were 4 clips and each one was or could have been different. Closest, there was 2 people that guessed correctly on 3 out of the 4, and that is Danny, Tribble and JV. So well done, guys. You're still wrong, I mean, you know, but not quite as wrong as everybody else. 2 people chose a preference, or a few people chose a preference and just said, oh, I prefer guitar A or guitar B. 2 people chose a preference across the 4 clips and were consistent with that choice through the 4 clips, but they wouldn't commit to which guitar it was, either the R8 or the 59. On both occasions, I can tell you that they chose the 59 as the guitar that they preferred. Didn't you, Clive and Toby? Well done, guys. So I didn't expect it to be that close. It's kind of almost made the next part of this series almost pointless, really, where we were saying, well, let's upgrade some parts and see if we can make the Epiphone sound better. Well, I don't know if we need to be honest with you. It's clearly people can't tell the difference between a £700 guitar and a £3,700 guitar. I mean, I'm not sure what the point of spending any more money on this will be. Well, we're going to find out anyway. We're going to go further down that rabbit hole because it's fun and we need to answer these questions, you know. So, okay, so, right, let's get on with that now. Let's put all of that behind us. Let's move on and see what other trouble we can get ourselves into, eh? All right, see you in a minute. Cheers. Right, so first things first, we've got a lightweight nickel stop tailpiece we're going to fit, which should pop straight on. When we compared this with the Gibson R8, we weighed these and this is quite a lot heavier. So a fellow guitarist, a Big Log, recommended this Faber TP59 as a direct slot-in replacement without replacing the posts and the bushes. I appreciate I'm leaving those in place. You know, if you replace those as well, it would probably make more of a significant difference, if indeed it does make a difference. But this could be, this was about £30, I think. So if it makes a difference to the sound, or if it makes a difference to the better to the sound, it could be a really cheap little upgrade that people can do without, you know, going forward to that next step of actually upgrading pickups, you know, which is obviously a lot more. So what I'm going to do is put this on and then we'll restring it and then we'll do some more sound comparisons and see if it makes a difference. Okay, so here we go. Strings off. So let's weigh, this is the original and you should be able to see that's 73 grams. This Faber TP59, 31 grams. So 42 grams difference. So I think that weighs identically to the Gibson. Now, the theory is this will go straight on. Hey, nice one, Big Log. Oh, it's exact fit, perfect. exact fit. So if you're going to do this, I think you need to be aware that Gibson ones won't go straight on, because these are metric, because they're obviously made in that place. I'm not going to mention where they're made because people get annoyed. So there you go. That's straight on. I'm going to restring it straight away. That's all I need to do. Let's pop that on. It's nice. Ooh. Strings on, new strings. New Faber TP59 lightweight tailpiece on, which is very lovely, I must say. There's a chunk of old iron there. Right, so I'm going to tune it up, stretch those strings in, and play it for a good half hour or so before I do the sound tests, just to bed it in, and then we'll go to our Greeny Moor test bed and record some clips, and then play them back to back with this prior to the upgrade here, and see if it's made any difference. See you in a minute. You should be able to hear, there is a slight difference. I can definitely hear it here in the studio. It seems that the Faber's taken a little bit of the brittleness off, a tiny bit of attack away. It's a little bit more nuanced, perhaps, if that's a word I could use to describe the sound. At first, it seemed to me like the gain had been turned down somewhere in the signal chain in the first clips that I was recording, but I've been quite diligent to make sure that it doesn't happen for this experiment. So I'm certain it hasn't, unless someone sneaked in the night and turned the amp down a little bit. I'm pretty positive it's identical settings, identical on the guitar, identical on the everywhere. So yeah, I think it's taken a little bit of the brittleness away. I suppose that would make sense, really, if you put in a lighter tailpiece on. I'm not convinced that it's an improvement. I don't think there was anything especially wrong with the sound before. I think it was a nice balance, to be honest with you. So I think the jury's out there as whether or not you need to do that to this guitar. If you had a Les Paul or an SG perhaps that did feel a little bit too on the brittle side, I think that might be a good little mod you could do to soften it up a little bit. But anyway, let me know what you think. What we'll do now is we'll move on and we'll swap the pups out and see what difference, if any, some boutique PAFs make. Okay? Thank you very much. See you in a bit. Moving swiftly on, let's get these puppies out and strings off again. I'm going to do strings off. I don't think you should necessarily be afraid of having a go at swapping your own pickups. It's pretty straightforward. You've got 4 wires to desolder and then resolder. What you've got in this cavity here, you should be able to see that. 4 wires. There's an earth that goes to the back of, that's the volume pot, that's the, I've got to think about way around. So that'll be the bridge volume pot, earth, and the hot wire, which is the black wire from these pickups, goes to that lug there, and the same on the neck pickup. The earth goes to the back of the pot there, and the hot wire goes to that lug there. All you got to do is, the first thing you got to do is just desolder those, and then on the replacement pickups, put them back. It's really not rocket science, you know. If you can put up an IKEA bookshelf, you should be able to wire in some pickups. No, actually, scratch that. Not a good analogy. But don't be scared. It's just having a steady hand, really, and making sure you can see what you're doing, where you're working, and having a good soldering iron. Now, that has been on for a little bit. It should be up to heat. Now, absolutely key, well, I don't know if people tell you this, but get a wet sponge and use it to clean the soldering iron. You've got to keep your soldering iron clean. There you go. Can you see how shiny my hot tip is there? That's what you want, a nice shiny hot tip. And then when it's up to temperature, this is kind of, there you go, you just pop that on there. Because it's clean, it just flows really nicely. I'm dribbling, sorry. I'm just going to, talking about my hot tips, maybe dribble. So it's just nice to just keep it clean, and it helps the solder flow. And then you go in, and you should just put it on there. Look, that's off already. Well, it's gone back on now because I didn't move it quick enough. There you go. That's the earth wire off the treble pickup straight away. And then what I do is just a whole little bit of pliers on the lug just to get, so you can clear it out nicely. There you go. So one's off already. That went better than I'd expected, to be honest. So, sod's law, this one won't. Give it a wipe, clean it, look. Whoop, whoop. Mind the hot bits that flick around. Because once the solder starts flowing, the rest will join it, basically. So let's see if we can do the same here. So if it doesn't start flowing straight away, put a bit of solder on it, and that'll make that move. There you go. Done. So those are loosened. Wipe your hot tip. I'm sorry. It's ridiculous, isn't it? It's got a wax lining here. It's sort of some kind of, it looks like wax. I don't know if it's some kind of shielding stuff, I suppose. It's nice and tidy in here, it really is. Compared to some of the stuff that you see, you know, pretty rough, but this is actually, yeah, it's pretty impressive. So, this is the hard part. So what we have to do here is remove the pickup from the pickup ring without losing the springs. So, I have perfected a technique. One side, release the pressure. Get a screwdriver that fits if you can properly. It's quite key, really. Let's check that again. Yes. Saying that, and I nearly lost the spring. That was funny. That was funny. I just thought, where's the other spring gone? I've lost the spring, and I wasn't looking at it. I didn't see where it went. Luckily, I then saw it there. These things are blighters. This could ruin your day, honestly. So, here we go. The thicker one is the bridge, the thinner one is the neck. So it's a good job you got me here making all these mistakes. Easy to get this stuff wrong. Which way round does that go? You think, oh, you know, but then it goes that way. Luckily, I have other Les Pauls here that I haven't taken apart to compare it with. This is the neck pickup ring. That's the way it goes. Ta-da! That way. So, that pickup says neck on it. That's the way it would go. Now we have to get the springs back on without firing them across the room. Blimey, that went easier than expected. These springs are not too long. Sometimes you have really long ones and they're really fiddly. But these are actually, so far anyway, amazingly compliant. I didn't expect that. I had my pliers ready to start wrangling them, but I may not need that. It is fiddly, you just need to get it started. That's it, without cross-threading it, obviously. Same again with the bridge pickup. Spring. Paspaka. Right, that way, that way, that way round. Bridge says bridge will be that way. See what I mean? It's quite fiddly. Sometimes it will go straight away. And sometimes you'll be playing around trying to get it lined up. Ha! Right, so just a little technique that I to make it easier is, so I got my long nose pliers like that, because you can actually hold it while you line it up with the hole and literally put the end in the hole. It just makes it easier to line it up. Yeah, it worked. That's what I normally have to do with these, with the long. You just need to get it started in that hole there. And then, yay, success. Wire through. I've got the wires through. I've marked the bridge, which is actually this one. Earlier I said it was that one, which is not. Is if you flip the guitar, obviously that's the neck pickup volume and that's the bridge. And I've just marked this so that we don't lose it. And I'm cleaning these wires up because they were a bit manky. So I want to show you a little tip. How do you strip these really thin wires? It's a little thing that I learnt years ago, and I haven't burnt myself yet. If you just get a lighter and just burn the end, and then just do that. It's pretty easy. It works. It strips the wire bare. I think you can also do it with a soldering iron actually, but it messes up the soldering iron. It gets obviously rubber or whatever, plastic or whatever it is all over the tip of the soldering iron, which you don't want. One of I think the most important things when you're soldering is to keep the soldering iron tip clean so that the solder flows really nicely. There you go. So they're all stripped, and then what we'll do, don't forget, if you're not using the red and the white for any additional switching like phase, I don't know, coil splitting I think it is really, isn't it? They got to be joined together. So first thing we'll do is we'll just put a bit of soldering on them. Make sure your iron's nice and hot, clean. Pop a bit of solder on it, and then this is called tinning, I think. You just heat up the wire, pop it on there, pop a little bit of solder on it. Not much, it just runs into it. Same with all the tips. Wipe the tip, tiny bit of solder on it, go into where you want to be on the hot lug. Seems to be on. Earth. Cool. So that seems to be on. If the solder doesn't start to run, don't just hold it on there and wait and overheat it. Put a little bit of solder on it and it will run straight away. Right, I might be able to show you that, might not have to. See, and finally, I'll show you what I mean. Put a bit of solder on it, and straight away it will run into the other and it'll all go soft. Didn't quite catch that. Bam, bingo. Right. So before we put the strings back on, I'm just going to do a quick test, see if these are working. It's a moment of truth. It's all very, very exciting, this part. You can see why people get someone professional to do it, can't you? That's not working. That's not. Yes. Good. Right, we'll put the strings back on. So, crikey, it's never quite straightforward, but you know, it was an hour. It's a long, I mean, you know, it would take someone that knew what they were doing 10 minutes. But, you know, if you've got an hour and you don't mind making a mess, you've saved yourself an hour's labour. So have a go if you feel like it. I don't blame you if you don't after seeing that. Right, so I'm going to, fresh set of strings. I'm going to reset the pickup heights and check the pole pieces, and then I'm going to go back and record some more sound samples, and then we'll come back and we'll see what we've got, shall we? All right. Okay. See you in a bit. Cheers, Ta. So, there you go. Did you spot the difference? I think there is a noticeable difference as you progress through the journey that we've just made. There's quite a noticeable difference made from the Faber tailpiece, and then there's a less noticeable but still a difference when we put the Montys in. Obviously, as I've progressed through this journey down the rabbit hole, I've questioned the way that I decided to do the experiment in terms of the clips that I recorded and the style and the sounds that I've chosen. You know, they're infinite variables, and at the end of the day, we've ended up with what I decided to commit to at an early stage, and so that's what we got. And hopefully, it's valid enough to show that there are differences. You know, it does make a difference, this stuff. With the pickups in particular, and I'm not sure if that will come across fully in the recordings, immediately I started playing once I'd fitted them, it felt a bit different. It felt a little bit more tactile and alive, the guitar. And it is probably to do with what I was hearing. You know, there was something, that extra something going on, for sure. I don't know if you can hear that. Some of you might be able to. Some of you've probably got better ears than I have. Sorry, a lot of you have most certainly got better ears than I have. So let me know what you think. Whether or not this is an upgrade that I would recommend for this guitar, or say is necessary for this guitar, I don't know. I mean, to be honest with you, we've already established that this guitar, the Epiphone 59, is really good out of the box. The burst bucker 2 and 3 pickups are not bad. You know, the whole guitar as a whole is nicely balanced, and yeah, there's not a lot wrong with it. So whether or not I don't think I'd necessarily recommend that you need to go out and spend what would probably be about £300 on these particular upgrades. However, with something like the Epiphone 50s, or maybe even the new Slash Signature series, if you've pressed the button and bought one of those, the one thing that you'll be extremely unhappy with is the pickups, because they're the standard Pro Bucker pickups, which is exactly the same as the one in the Epiphone 50s. There's nothing wrong with them, they're great, but if you put a set of something like these PAFs in the Slash or the 50s, the step up from the Pro Bucker to the boutique pickups would be, I'm sure, a lot more noticeable. And you know, with the Faber as well, which gives it it's quite. I did expect that to be quite a change, and I'm pleased to prove that it was, because it's a really cheap upgrade. I'll put the link of where I got it from in the UK in the information box below, because that's a really easy, really easy little thing to do. If you know how to change a set of strings, you can change the tailpiece. This has been a fun series to make. It's expanded, and it's I've learned a hell of a lot from this, to be honest with you. Everything I'm doing here is really asking questions so that I can learn a little bit more about this stuff, and then if I think I know something, I will tell you guys, and then quite often I'm being corrected or being pointed in another direction from you and in the comments, and there's been a lot of really positive feedback through this journey down the rabbit hole. It's been a fun journey, and it's been emotional. Anyone that's invested their $800 or £700 in one of these Epiphones, congratulations, you've got a fabulous guitar. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. It's a proper Les Paul as standard. It's great. If you want to fiddle around and mess around with it, I felt when I put the Montys in and it was all ready and I was playing it, and I actually, the thought that I had was, well, you know what, this feels special now. It feels, I've raised the game a little bit. It feels like a guitar that you could take onto stage and actually feel quite proud of playing, but rather than perhaps feeling inferior in some way because it didn't have Gibson on the headstock. There's a lot to love about this guitar as standard, but also I think it's definitely worth making some changes if you're that way inclined to make it your own, and unique kind of version of something that's already good to start with. So there you go. I mean, thanks ever so much for sticking with them. This series has kind of taken on a life of its own. There's been a lot of really positive feedback, and I think a lot of people have said that they've enjoyed it. So if this is the sort of content that you are enjoying, then let me know and I'll carry on making it. I've got quite a little collection of these Les Paul shaped things. I've got the 50s gold top, and I definitely want to change the pickups in that with a Pro Bucker. A lot of people have asked me, what, the Epiphone 59 or the Epiphone 50s, which is a couple of $100 cheaper. Well, I'd like to answer that question. So I think what we'll do is we'll do some pickup swapping with those, with the 59 and the Epiphone 50s, and we'll look into that a little bit more detail and see what the other differences are. As I've said, next couple of weeks I'm going to do some reviews of some other guitars that we got backed up here in the studio, give a little bit of variety for people that aren't mad keen on Les Pauls or Epiphones. I don't want to, I want to try and cover as wide a range of stuff as I can. Obviously, ultimately, I'm going to be guided by what you guys want to watch, and that's the content that I will, end up making, because I will know that because of the number of subscribers and views that I get on each video. So if you like what I'm doing, please support it by leaving a comment, telling me, liking it, and of course subscribing. And if you want to know when I post content, then make sure that you ring the bell. It's not a bell, is it? I think we'll wrap it up there. This series on the Epiphone 1959 Les Paul Standard is come to an end. We love the guitar. We loved it when we first bought it. We've enjoyed mucking around with it and poking it around and looking at it and changing the pickups. It's great. It's a nice guitar. If you've got one, you should feel very, very pleased with yourselves. And if you haven't got one, I'm not really sure why. You ought to probably sort that out. It's a good Les Paul. I think that's probably long enough for now, for this week at least. Next week we'll be back with some other stuff. Not sure what it's going to be yet. So join us again this time next week and let's find out, eh? See you next time. Ta-ra.